You wake up in a room without windows. The light is synthetic, white, cold, humming faintly from panels embedded in curved ceilings. You press your hand against the wall, and it feels like plastic. Behind that wall is not sky, not earth, but dust. Red, fine-grained, ancient. Outside, the wind moves with no sound. This isn't science fiction, it's home. Not because we imagined it, but because we built it. Mars has always shimmered on the edge of human imagination. A rusted ghost planet, dancing in telescopes, hiding canals, inviting conquest. For centuries, it was a metaphor. Then it became a mission. And now, in the span of a single generation, it stands on the brink of transformation. Not as a place to visit, but as a place to stay. To live, to build, to grow old. 2030 is not far. It's 2 presidential terms. It's a child turning into a teenager. It's a launch schedule already printed. And if projections hold, if plans by NASA, SpaceX, and private consortia don't fracture under cost, politics, or tragedy, we could see the first functional human settlement on another world by that date. A city, not a tent, not a lab. A city with its own power grid, hydroponic farms, printed walls, and streetlights that flicker against the vacuum. But here's the strange part. The closer we come, the more unreal it feels. Because building a city on Mars isn't just about rockets or robots. It's about confronting something deeper. The moment when fantasy hardens into infrastructure. When the thing we dreamed for centuries suddenly becomes ours to design. Look again. You see her standing at the edge of a half-built dome. She's 28, hair tucked beneath a pressure helmet, boots sunk in regolith. She's holding a tool that doesn't exist yet, looking at a blueprint flickering in augmented light. Behind her, the horizon, curved, red, endless. Above, a sun too small to warm. She doesn't speak. She calculates. She decides. That image is more than cinematic. It's a seed. Because every city begins not with steel or concrete, but with a story. And this one starts on the most lifeless place we've ever hoped to call alive. A city on Earth grows slowly, street by street, shaped by rivers, power lines, and forgotten borders. But a city on Mars starts from nothing. There are no roads, no ruins, no trees, just a blank terrain, frozen, dusty, exposed to ultraviolet death. And in that emptiness, the first line drawn matters more than any monument. Because here, the blueprint is the future. The earliest Martian settlements won't look like Earth at all. They'll resemble life support systems disguised as architecture. Imagine domes, transparent, pressurized, reinforced by carbon fiber lattices grown from Martian CO2. Beneath them, layers of insulation, shielding against radiation that would kill unprotected skin in hours. Airlocks everywhere, floors embedded with oxygen sensors. Every wall, a machine. Energy comes first. No city breathes without power. But solar panels on Mars produce half as much electricity as on Earth, filtered through thin atmosphere, dim sun. So engineers propose dual systems, surface solar farms that follow the light with mechanical elegance, and underground nuclear reactors, compact, modular, sealed like hearts inside concrete shells. There is no backup. Failure isn't an outage, it's a funeral. Then comes water. You can't truck it in. Every kilogram of water lifted from Earth costs more than gold. So cities mine ice, buried in Martian soil, locked in regolith at the poles, or extracted molecule by molecule from the atmosphere. Hydrogen is cracked, oxygen isolated, steam recycled. Every drop is counted, every breath is engineered. Food, it doesn't come in crates, it grows vertically, inside hydroponic towers with pink LED light, crops stacked like servers in a data center. Wheat, algae, strawberries, even coffee. All nurtured by AI-controlled nutrients, waste recycling loops, and insects, not for flavor, for protein. You eat what survives. And still the question remains, where do people live? Not just survive, but dwell, feel, dream. The answer is modular. Each habitat is printed in place from regolith-based cement, autonomous machines building arcs and chambers that curve with structural logic. Bedrooms the size of closets, communal kitchens glowing with filtered light, walls that double as water tanks, radiation shields, and heat regulators. Efficiency isn't style, it's survival. But efficiency doesn't mean soullessness. Look again. She's moving through a corridor, a girl in her late 20s, her silhouette framed by artificial light. Outside the window, the void. Inside the corridor, music. Low, synthetic. Someone hung a photo on the wall, an Earth sunset printed on thin polymer, a reminder of color, of gravity, of what was left behind. That's the strange miracle of a Martian city. It must function like a machine, but feel like a memory. It's built to keep us alive, but only if we remember why we wanted to be here in the first place. You don't buy a return ticket to Mars, because there isn't one, not Nat. The physics of launch windows, Delta-V budgets, and radiation exposure make the journey a commitment, one way, one time, one life. And yet, people volunteer. Not thousands, millions, signing up to leave behind oceans, forests, birthdays, to disappear into the red. Why? We say it's for science, for survival, for species continuity. But deep down, it's also for something harder to define. The ancient pull of frontiers. The urge to go where no one waits. To carve meaning from exile. The first Martian citizens will be chosen not for fame, but for stability. Biologists, engineers, doctors, roboticists, people who can repair systems faster than they break. People who can solve loneliness with routine. Who can keep going even when the sunrise looks the same every day and the horizon never moves. She sits in the waiting room. Her name isn't famous. Her story isn't dramatic, but she's been training for years, simulating low-gravity surgeries, practicing communication blackouts, learning to grow kale in volcanic dust. Her backpack holds a folded letter sealed, written to no one, or maybe to Earth itself. It says, "I'm not escaping, I'm arriving." Departure isn't cinematic, it's procedural. One by one, they board a ship that looks more like a fuel tank than a vessel. The launch is violent, and after that, everything is slow. 6 months of drifting silence, punctuated by course corrections, checklists, and recycled air. Then comes orbit insertion, descent, and the rough thud of arrival. And there it is, red dust on glass, the soft hiss of pressurization, the first breath not of Martian air, but of something made to feel like it. Behind every intake of oxygen lies a machine that might fail. Every wall, a margin. Every system, a risk. Some call them pioneers, others say they're sacrificial. But maybe there's something stranger, volunteers for the future. People who accept that cities don't rise without cost. That colonization, though ethically tangled, is also existentially charged. It's not about escaping Earth's problems. It's about proving we can survive without its mercy. You can see her walking through the airlock now. Her boots land first, then her shadow. She pauses, lifts her head, and looks out. What she sees isn't welcoming, but it waits. That may be enough. What kind of person signs up to be forgotten by time but remembered by history? The first Martian city isn't grand. It doesn't rise like a skyline. It expands like a lung, slow, necessary, rhythmic. One module becomes 3, then 6, then a corridor connecting habitats like capillaries in a fragile organism. Everything breathes together, or not at all. Outside, the wind moves dust in silent spirals. Inside, life begins its rehearsal, not of exploration, but of routine. Morning reports, filter checks, nutrient logs, a human day compressed into cycles of survival. But survival has texture. It has habits, rituals, stubborn beauty. You walk into the communal dome and it feels like entering a dream inside a machine. Warm lights simulate dawn. A wall glows with artificial plants, not because they're useful, but because they're green. Someone's playing a recording of rain, not real, but familiar. A sound stitched from memory. She stands at the edge of the farm module, hands buried in foam substrate, tending to spinach leaves under magenta LEDs. Her face is tired but calm. Her hair floats slightly. Gravity here is lazy, like it's still deciding whether to hold us. She hums to herself, something quiet, a human sound in a non-human world. Meals are shared in silence, not because of tension, but because words feel expensive. You eat slowly, chewing flavorless protein paste rehydrated with care. Across the table, someone laughs. It's sudden, jarring, beautiful. Laughter sounds louder here, maybe because it's rare. In the evening, people gather in the observatory. Not to look at Earth, which is too far and too small, but to look at nothing. A sky so empty it feels sacred. No birds, no clouds, just a dusty moonscape glowing under Phobos and Deimos, ghosts pretending to be moons. And still, life insists on softness. Someone tapes a paper flower to a bulkhead. Someone brews coffee from recycled condensation. Someone writes a poem on the inside of their sleep visor. These are not anomalies. They're the beginnings of culture. A city is more than its systems. It's a place where people build not only walls, but meaning. And that meaning adapts. Holidays shift to launch anniversaries. Music evolves to suit enclosed spaces. Language twists with new metaphors, gravity, radiation, silence. She lies in her bunk now, eyes open, watching a projection on the ceiling, a forest she'll never touch again. Pines, wind, shadows. It loops every 18 minutes. She doesn't mind. There's comfort in repetition, in memory, in imagining that dreams, even in dust, can grow roots. The first Martian city isn't a triumph, it's a beginning, and beginnings are quiet. There's a moment, quiet, private, that every Martian resident comes to know. It doesn't happen during landing or the first breath inside the dome. It arrives weeks later, without warning, like a shadow turning its head. You wake up, you look out, and you realize something unbearable. Earth is gone. Not in disaster, not in exile, but in distance. And distance changes everything. From Mars, Earth is a pale star, not blue, not alive, just a moving point, like a memory that refuses to sharpen. You can track it on the screen, you can calculate the light delay, but you cannot feel it. And without feeling, homesickness becomes something quieter. Not pain, not longing, more like weightlessness. She sits in the Habitat's observatory, if it can be called that. It's a pressurized room with a single viewport shielded in ultraviolet film. Earth is there, a white-blue dot near the sun. She stares at it without expression. Her hands are still. Her posture almost reverent, not because it's beautiful, but because it's hers. What do you carry when you leave a planet? Not your house, not your city, not even your sky. What remains are phrases, sensations, the texture of grass, the wet smell of rain on asphalt, the weight of your own body under real gravity. None of these exist here. Mars isn't trying to replace them, it offers no illusion, just thin air and red dust and a chance to mean something new. The paradox is cruel. You understand Earth more when you're not on it. Its fragility becomes obvious, its abundance becomes obscene. A world where water falls from the sky, unthinkable. A place where you can breathe by accident, impossible. On Mars, everything is effort, and in that effort, gratitude becomes second nature. You start to ask different questions. Not just how do we live here, but who are we now that we do? The word Martian begins to lose its science fiction shine. It becomes logistical, then personal, then cultural. You speak differently, you think differently. Time moves in souls, not days. Distance is measured in launch windows. Home is not a location, it's an agreement. She walks alone down a hallway that loops back on itself. The walls are humming gently. There's no sky, no wind, no outside. And yet she's smiling faintly because she's not lost. She's becoming something that didn't exist a decade ago. A person who remembers Earth, but no longer depends on it. What does it mean to belong when you've left behind the only place that ever belonged to you? Every city is a sentence in the story of a species. On Earth, they followed rivers, rose from trade, collapsed in fire or flood. But on Mars, the sentence begins differently, with intention, with design, with a decision to live where nothing ever lived. And now that we've done it, now that red dust clings to our boots and pressurized domes echo with laughter and silence, what comes next? Because we won't stop here. Mars was never the destination, it was the test. A full rehearsal for living without Earth, a prototype for cities that don't need oceans, atmospheres, or mercy. And if we can make one city breathe where nothing else does, why not 2? Why not 10? Why not beyond? Already, engineers sketch settlements on the Moon, on Europa, on Titan, icy worlds with buried oceans and chemical puzzles waiting to be solved. Asteroid habitats, solar orbiters, Venusian cloud stations. The science is not fantasy. The fantasy was thinking we were permanent tenants of Earth. She stands on a scaffold above the Martian horizon. Below her, the lights of the city pulse like slow heartbeat. Domes reflect the pale sun. Rovers move like beetles across gravel plains. She's older now, not tired, just steady. In her hand, a data slate. On it, a new set of coordinates. Not for Mars, for something farther. She doesn't smile. She knows. There is no ceremony, no flag, no anthem, just blueprints and deadlines. Somewhere in orbit, a prototype engine spins silently, its ion trail curling like ink in water. Somewhere else, a child born on Mars draws Saturn with a house beside it. The shift is quiet, tectonic, irreversible. The more we build, the more we ask, what is a planet, really? A habitat, a chapter, a cradle, or just one page in a story that refuses to end? Maybe the purpose of cities on Mars isn't to escape Earth, but to stop believing it was the only stage. Maybe humanity was never meant to stay still. So the question is no longer, can we live here? We've answered that. We are living here. The real question is, what if Mars was just the beginning?